All right, everybody, welcome to the Groundsmen. It is, man. That top order just demolished him. So normally what that structure looks like is that there's, and honestly, that's part of why the groundsmen are here as well, so that you don't have to wait for Coke Week in order to see who's who and what's what. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Groundsman, where you find everything that has to do with school cricket, what the boys are doing, how they're doing them. As usual, for another week, I've got my co-host T. T, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. It's good to be back. What are we now? In week 11, week 12?
Week 12, my man, week 12.
Starting to get blurry.
Yeah, man, I think we're chugging along so well, man.
Nah, definitely. I'm keen to hear what's going on in the cricket landscape this week.
Interesting things, man. Interesting things. I think the biggest bombshell we'll get to the big bombshell. The one thing that has happened, and I think we do need to talk about it, is Australia beating New Zealand in the T20 World Cup final. And I spoke to a few guys, right? And eventually we were like, if you're facing New Zealand in a final, should we just consider that the other team's gonna win?
What are we saying New Zealand are chokers? What are we trying to say here?
So let me not be unfair. They won the World Test Championship, right? They played in the final and they won that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But I mean that's not like a that championship takes place in like in a span of time, right? In a period of time. Um, it's unlike the
Yeah.
T20 or the 50 over World Cup trophy that takes.
Pressure's not the same.
It's not the same. It's not the same, and it just seems like New Zealand just keeps getting to semifinals and then just giving it away to other teams. The way
Are we
Australia
talking
won it
about New
this time.
Zealand or South Africa? I just want to clear up.
Oh snap! That's rough, dude. That's rough. We're talking about New Zealand, okay?
Okay.
They just it was it was. I mean, from a T20 perspective, it was a walkover. Um, they held it together at the beginning. Australia just sort of held some wickets in hand. Waited till sort of the last 7, 6 overs, then attacked and won the game. Well, I don't know what your take is on New Zealand at this point, man.
Have they
Or
ever won a World Cup?
have they? No, I don't
I
think
don't think
so.
they've ever won one.
No, I don't think so. I've never. Have they won a World Cup? I don't know. I don't think so, man. I think New Zealand. Let me see. They might have with what do you call it? With Brendan McCullum, eh?
Yeah, I
Um,
remember at some point they celebrated something with McCullough.
yeah, he's the
Just
one
don't know
that
if
sort
it
of
was a World
changed
Cup.
the way they played and all of that. So, um, yeah, I don't.
Because
I'm not
they've
sure
never
if they
really
did.
threats. They've never really been in the conversation. Like, even back in the Stephen Fleming days, they were good, but they were never seen as the top best team in the world at any given stage.
Yeah.
And I'm leading to something, which is why I wanted to first find out, have they ever won a World Cup?
Let me just see here. Actually, it was won by England to beat New Zealand. Okay, so they lost the one in 2019 to that famous loss to England. And then World Cups. They say okay. It seems that they won one in 87, 2011, and 2015. So it seems
Repeat
like
that again?
uh they won one in 87,
Yeah.
20. Let me just see quickly. Uh, I think I lost it again. in 87, 2011, and 2015. So I'm just trying to see what they won, right? Because this thing
Yeah,
just says champions, World Cup champions. Um,
I don't recall New Zealand winning a World Cup recent.
I also don't. I don't. No, man. Obviously, it's giving me rugby. Um,
Yeah, I was about to say that's a bit of a dominant. We'd know if they were that dominant.
yeah, yeah, definitely, dude. Definitely. New Zealand won the Cricket World Cup. Nope, they haven't. We were right. We were right. They haven't won a Cricket World Cup. They're like South
Uh,
Africa.
so what I was gonna say is to to me, what I'm picking up at every World Cup that it is extremely hard to win a World Cup for the first time. It may be harder to win it the first time than it is to win it after the first time.
Mm,
And I think that there I don't quite know the full psychology behind it, but I suspect that there is a belief that comes with having won it before
mm,
that may not translate to guys that have never done it before.
yeah,
And you see it when teams that are regarded to be the best teams in the world, when they get to the World Cup, because there is no culture or there is no history of ever being able to win it, that monkey on the back is so much bigger than
yeah,
it is on Australia's back or on India's back or on England's back.
yeah,
With them, it's can they do it again?
yeah,
With countries like us in New Zealand, it's can they do it, period.
yeah, yeah. That's a fact, dude. I mean, you look at even with teams like West Indies, right? They even if they crash out the World Cup, every time they enter a World Cup space, everybody starts to get nervous. Pakistan, same thing. You could hammer those guys in a series. They've been playing in the UAE, so they could have a home series. They could get hammered like right before the World Cup, and literally get into the World Cup, and everybody goes, they could possibly take this thing. So you're right. There is something about winning a World Cup um that builds or creates a pedigree, even if it's a brand new crop of players, right?
Mm.
Yeah. And you saw with Australia. I mean, Australia played now, and at the beginning of the tournament, I actually remember, I think it was Palm or one of the commentators, and he was saying, "What is it about this T20 World Cup that seems so elusive to Australia? You know, you've won everything else. What is it about
Mm.
this title that seems so unattainable for you guys?" And I remember, what do you call it? Uh, I think it was I don't know if it was Warner. I think it may have been Warner, and he was saying we just here to play some good cricket, man. We take it a game at a time. We're looking to get to knockout stages. We know if we can get ourselves to the knockout stages, we have a shot. And those are guys that are just they back themselves, right? They just get us to knockouts, man. If we can get ourselves to knockout out of the swamp, we
Yeah.
know that we have the pedigree to pull it off. And mind you, they've pulled it off with a very undercooked side, eh? Australia came into this World Cup very undercooked. A lot of guys are like, what do you guys? Australia can't be the favorite. They're good. You can never count them out, but they were never one of the favorites to win it.
Mm. And that's where you start to see that there's somebody on the inside that has instilled that confidence. And
Yeah,
that confidence comes from somebody who's done it. And I think that's really the X factor in a lot of these teams is that they've got the ability to bring in guys who've done this before. And
yeah,
that language in that conversation is something that guys like um, your Bauchis can't give. They can't manufacture
mm,
that winning talk because they don't know. They
yeah,
can't say, listen, this is how we did it. And
yeah,
so there's still that first crop. And that's why I'm a firm believer in that market of Aiden Markram, KG. if they were to just be left alone to cultivate their own culture because they know how to win a World Cup.
Yeah. They've
But
done it
they
before.
exactly, but they brought in as youngsters, and so they can't carry that same ethos
Mm,
that took them to championship into this. Aiden Markram can't carry that same attitude that he had leading his team to the World Cup because he's not the guy.
yeah.
The guys are the guys that have been there. The guys that don't know how to win World Cups are the guys that are leading the charge at this thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's where guys lose it. That's where New Zealand is losing it. That's where we're losing it. And that's where any of these top teams that on any given Sunday would have probably beat everybody. I mean, there was a stage where South Africa had the best team in the world.
Yeah.
We had, I
For a
think,
few
three or
years.
four guys. Yeah, we had like three or four guys that were the top batsmen. We had the best bowlers in the world, the best batsmen in the world, on in all formats.
Yeah.
2020, and I mean from Test cricket
Test.
and
Yeah.
one day cricket, we had the best batsmen ever. Hashim Amla, the Jacques Callises, we had the best all rounder, we had the best keeper, we had the best. I mean, it was back then. It was Boucher and Gilchrist basically competing
Yeah.
for that top keeper spot. You know, I mean, Gilly wins it, but
Yeah.
Boucher came in as a second back then.
Yeah.
So on paper, we had the best team and we were the number one team because when it came to consistency, we were number one. And
Yeah.
we were number one for a while by a margin. There
Yeah.
was number two couldn't touch us with the 10-foot pole
Yeah.
because we were just dominating. And those guys couldn't win a World Cup because I
Yeah.
think that there is a how that you only get to know once you've been there,
Yeah.
and your country is not does not have the resources to go and win it. You look at India. Um, India went and found guys who knew how to win.
Mm,
India went and found guys, and I think that Gary Kirsten era that was first led in, those guys could have won a World Cup.
yeah.
They were just late to the party
Yeah.
because of SA sanctionings and all that. Um, and those guys are the guys that brewed the team, and also those guys played in the era of that untouchable Australian squad.
Yeah. Those yeah, yeah, no, no, no. To beat Australia around that time was mission.
It was damn near impossible, my man. You had your Ricky Ponting, you had your Gilchrist, that
Justin
Matthew Hayden
Langer,
Gilchrist,
yeah,
Justin Langer. I mean, it was Roy
Brett Lee,
Simons, it was Brett Lee, it was Glenn McGrath, it was Like
yeah,
you're talking about Hall of Famers. That
yeah,
entire team, anybody would have in their World 11 squad.
yeah, no doubt
If you
about
have
it.
to go back, there's at least five guys on that side that are in your World 11 squad, regardless of what era you're choosing from.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
You would even put them in that old West Indies side and take some West Indies guys out because
Yeah,
those boys are that damn good.
yeah,
Nobody can compete with Shane Warne, dead or alive.
yeah. As a from spin, listen, we get Muralitharan. He was great. Um, I think, but Shane is from a wrist spinner's perspective, Shane was fantastic. Um,
Even Murali acknowledges that, nah,
yeah,
Shane Warne is something,
yeah,
something different. Because Murali was also the surprise of his action. Shane Warne was just straight up, just rip.
yeah.
Just there was no
Rip and
theatrics with it,
variation, bro.
dude.
Yeah,
There was no theatrics. There was no tricks. He wasn't trying to Agenta Mendes anyone. He was just old school leg spinner coming in and just
yeah,
ripping guys a new one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's true, dude. So I mean, now Australia's got it under their belt now, right? So I think T20 World Cups beware because you've got West Indies, you've got West Indies, you've got England, you've got Pakistan, you've got Australia. guys need to be careful, man, because those guys are just racking up titles, and they just get more difficult to beat. You have
Yeah.
Pakistan, so they just get more difficult to beat with the years, and you
Here's
almost
a great.
feel, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say here's actually a great comparison. You look at the Springboks versus the Proteas.
Mm,
Skill level. Skill level, they're both the best teams in the world.
yeah,
It's not as if the Springboks on skill wise were better all in all than the Proteas skill wise.
yeah,
We're both rated the best teams in the world. But
yeah,
Springboks have done it once, and even in times of turmoil, they knew how to win a World Cup.
yeah. Did it again. Yeah,
You know what I mean? And it now, I mean, we'll say yes, Sia Kolisi, as a captain, as a leader, did a fantastic job. But I think it goes beyond who's captain anymore. It's
yeah,
this is the culture.
yeah,
We just have a winning culture. When we go in there, there's an expectation for the Springboks to win it.
yeah, yeah. In
There is an ease in which we speak about them winning it.
Yes, yes, yes. There's something in the investment world, or in any corporate space, that we call what is it? Institutional memory, or organizational memory, which is essentially
Mm,
memory of the organization over time and through eras in which they have been able to be number one, right? So you take an Alan Gray or a Coronation, who have been consistently number one in the asset management space. Um, yes, there are certain what do you call? There's certain ingredients that they make sure they maintain as an organization, no matter who's at the helm, that they know that
mm,
this combination keeps us at number one, right? So this is our philosophy, this is our process, regardless of who comes in. The stock picking is another thing altogether, but these philosophies and processes are what allow us to maintain our levels and allow us to um, keep the trust of the nation or the people to look after their money. So you can think that in Australian cricket, in West Indian cricket, in Pakistani cricket, the captains may come and go, the players may come and go, coaches may come and go, but there's an organizational memory that says, we did it. This is how we did it. This is how we. That's why Justin Langer's coaching Australia, right? They've had a torrid time from the time Warner and Smith um, and the other youngster got suspended for a year. I mean, they were possibly the worst cricketing team in the world at the time, right? For that year
yeah.
that they spent without Warner and Smith. They came back, didn't do much to help them, right? Got hammered in the Ashes, continued to chug along, try this, try that, combination, come into this World Cup. They're still undercooked, haven't played much cricket. They're relying on the same old kind of Maxwell, um, what do you call it? Mitchell Stark, those guys, Warner, and those guys are all already looked undercooked at the beginning of the tournament. And but they found it, man. There was something that, as they built momentum, and even with South Africa, right? I think our first game was against Australia, and we lost against an uncooked Australian side. That game, we should have absolutely demolished them and taken that game. But again, there's that thing. There's the thing that you're talking about right now. That if you don't have it, you just don't have it. You just don't have it.
Yeah. And I think one of the key things that we missed, right? And Australia sort of did it publicly when the whole saga went down. And that was, we saw what Australia does when they're in trouble. They just did it publicly this time.
Mm,
So if you if for the people that were paying attention, if you notice, once that story broke, Australia went on and called their old players immediately.
Yeah.
They called all the old senior players, all the legendary guys, all the guys that knew how to deal with being an Australian cricketer, and they brought them in immediately. And I think that they do that, and we've seen it in World Cups, right? Every World Cup, the old alumni shows up.
Yeah.
As much of the old alumni as possible, you'll see them around the grounds. You'll see them either in the commentating booth. They'll be part of um, the team program and things like that. Like
Yeah.
they'll be in the system, and I think that's really their trump card. Is that within their system, they've got World Cup winners.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
That's
what I
true.
mean? It's a
You saw
different
Ponting
energy.
and them along in the change rooms, part of the coaching staff. You just saw them in and around. It's almost like a reunion of sorts. That come World
Mm,
Cup time, they all know they need to come together and guide this team to success.
yeah. And you can even go to the Indian team, right? You see all these guys lurking around the changing rooms, and they get invited to the tournament to be around. And they'll do some guest spots here and there, and you'll hear, oh, Tenduka's around.
Yeah,
I think those are the guys that are really shaping the minds of the team. So it doesn't matter who's in the team. You've now got Sachin Tendulkar sitting there going, this is where you need to be thinking. And when you got a guy like that,
yeah,
even if you are lacking confidence, you've
yeah,
got confidence now.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. It's one of you're right, and that plays a massive role, eh? That's huge for any team because all these kids grow up looking up to the Langers and the Pontings and them, right? So you even
Yeah,
see it with Australia's test side, right? With Marnus Labuschagne. Um,
yeah,
they and how he's such a groupie for like a Steve Smith, for instance, right? And I mean Smith hasn't been around forever. He's not like a Ponte. He's been around long enough for a kid as young as Marnus to have been a young teenager, look up to him, get into his early 20s, eventually get picked, and now he's playing with one of his favorite cricketers in the world. And whatever Steve Smith says is gold to him, right? So you can imagine if they're
yeah,
like that with a Smith, if he's like that with a Smith, what are the rest of the boys like with so saying with a Warren or a Langer or a Gilchrist? You know what when those guys come in, if those guys say we believe you can do it, I'm looking at every single one of you here and I believe this is a World Cup winning side. No one can tell them any different, no matter what position they find themselves in the game.
but I think that's the actual trick, though. I don't think that these guys go in and say, we believe you can do it. What these guys go and do, and they basically let these boys know that it's okay if you don't. And the release of
Mm.
pressure is actually what makes you perform
Oh,
well.
that's fire, bro.
When a Ricky Ponting says to you, it's okay, kid, you go out there and you make a duck, it's okay.
Yeah,
You feel like it's okay. Nobody can
it's
tell you that
fire.
it's not okay. Nobody
Yeah,
can say to you, oh no, you cursed it. No, Ricky Ponting said it's okay. He said if I don't make runs today, it's okay. So why do I go out there? The pressure's off me now.
mm,
The pressure's I'm gonna play my game. And what do they then back it up? They say, play your game, dude. Play your natural game. Go out there, do your thing.
yeah,
Don't don't let the world put the pressure on you. Because I think that's what the guys that don't do it do to themselves. Because everybody's feeling that pressure. So
yeah.
applying pressure can't be how you win it. It's having
Mm,
somebody who is able to release that pressure for you and let you know that it's okay to fail. And in that space, that's why Australia always looks so free. Like I've always wondered. And this is something that I'm sort of realizing now in this conversation. Like I've always wondered why these guys in the highest of pressure situations, they look like it's not a thing.
yeah,
And I think it's because they've got the type of people around them that if they say there's no pressure, there really is no pressure.
Yeah.
If the coach says there's no pressure, you're like, nah, bullshit. You
There's pressure.
you can drop me,
Yeah.
right? But when a former coach who is your idol, who is your hero, who's won World Cups, comes to you to the side, man to man, and goes, dude, you'll be okay. Trust me. Don't let the pressure of the government, don't let the pressure of the team, don't let none of that phase you.
Mhm.
If we lose, we lose. We're still Australia. We're still one of the best teams in the world. You're still you. And they'll remind you now of your figures. You're still David Warner, guy. You're
Yeah.
able to do these things. So don't let this one perform. And that's where that confidence to go, I'm gonna do me. If you can get
Yeah.
us to, and that attitude of if you can get us to the playoffs, we can win this thing
We can win
because
this thing.
we're not under pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that pressure's
100%.
translated to them.
Yeah.
That pressure's translated. So it's not only releasing the pressure from us, but it's making them understand how much pressure is on a New Zealand.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of mind games that take place in on the field now, and you see it.
Yeah.
Australia goes hard to these guys. And
Yeah.
I think even the verbiage is based around, oh, that pressure, buddy. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Applying that pressure when they don't feel pressure at all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I think there's an opportunity for a lot of teams to learn how some of these countries do it, right? And talking about that, we have the U19 Cricket World Cup coming up in 2022. And I think another opportunity would be for Cricket South Africa to get guys like KG, get guys like what do
Yeah.
you call it? Um, what's our boy's name again? Um, the captain, man.
Um, yeah, it's slipped on Aiden Markham.
Aiden Markham, to get guys like Markham in that change room and really get those boys going because I think they have a shot, eh? I really do. I looked at for some of you guys that haven't been keeping track. So Cricket South Africa announced the under 19 World Cup squad last week. And I think there's definitely an opportunity. Not last week, sorry, not last week. A few hours ago. And there's definitely an opportunity here for the guys to win it. If you did miss it, I'll read out some of the names, and these are names you guys will know because we've spoken about them on this on our podcast, and we've also kept track of them when they played the CSA T20 competition as well, which they did well. So Captain George van Heerden is the captain. We came down on George a few weeks ago, and I don't know if he did hear us. I'm assuming he did, but he really did come through and start to manage and look after the sides a little bit better since then. Um, we've got George van Heerden, who's the captain. We've got Liam Alder from the Lions. We've got Matthew Bose from KZN Inlands. We've got Diewald Bravis from the Titans. We've got Michael Copeland from Boland. We've got Ethan Cunningham from the Western Province. Gun better, man. Gun better. Valentine, yeah, man. Valentine Kitime from the Titans. We've got our boy Kwena Mapaka from the Lions. We've got Gerard Marais from the Free State. We've got a PM Nyanda from the Warriors. We've got Andy Lesemelane from KZN Inlands. We've got Jade Smith from the Warriors. We've got Caden Solomons from the Western Province. We've got Joshua Stephenson from the Warriors. We've got Asanke Tsaka from Western Province, fantastic spinner. And then the traveling reserves, we've got Hardis Kutsia from the Titans. Our boy Hardis made the
Out of this
side.
needs a spot, man.
He needs a spot.
Needs a spot. But
So
at least they see him.
Exactly. It's good to see though that our predictions and the guys that we favor are also on the radar for the selectors as well.
We're not picking bums. I think these are groundsman picks over here. Everyone we've picked to say this kid deserves a spot is been picked up. So
Yeah.
Yeah, if you doubt us now.
Doubt us
Doubt me
now.
now.
Doubt us now. Doubt us now. Traveling reserves, we've got Haris Katia from the Titans. We've got Ronan Herman from Titans, and we've got Caleb Seleka from Northwest. We got a player from the Northwest. Shout out. Shout out. Shout out.
Is it not the boy from Gemies?
No, I don't think he's the Khimi's boy, man. I'll actually check. Let me have a look. In the meantime, so those are the players that are going to be representing us at the Cricket World Cup under 19 taking place in the West Indies. They've got a series against West Indies now in December, as sort of the warm up game. So I think there's a big opportunity for the boys to get an understanding of one of the West Indies. I think they're going to be playing over there as well, so they're going to get an understanding of the conditions themselves. So yeah, man, it's that's who's going to be repping us. What's your take?
It sounds like they've covered some of the well performing players, the guys that are in form. So yeah, man, it sounds like it's a good squad. I really look forward to I think this crop of players with the combination of that group of Aiden Markram. I mean, I want to see, for me, my dream combo, if I can see Kwenamapaga coming from one side, KG Rabada coming from the other side. I'm
Come
telling you, mate.
on, man. Come on. What dreams are
I'm
made
telling
of,
you,
bro.
mate.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
telling you. KG's the perfect mentor for Gwen. Got into the game young, can help him find his feet into the game properly. And I think that combination of him, Kwena, maybe even if we can get Lungingidi strong enough,
Yeah.
He's a bit doughy.
He's a bit
Still got that.
Oh,
Still got that young
just to
man's vibe.
interrupt you, that is our boy from Pachchemies, bro.
Is it? Yeah, man. Yeah, that boy's been putting in the work.
Yeah. He has. Anyway,
Again,
yes.
another groundsman pick.
Another groundsman pick, bro. Another groundsman pick. What you got to say? Let me get that gun out. Get that gun out, bro. I'm telling you, another groundsman pick. So we're on our way, bro. I think there's a great opportunity for this kid. If they've got Caleb on one, and I mean he's a traveling reserve, right? So if Asanke Tsaka gets hurt, chances are they'll bring Caleb in to replace him as the spin replacement. But I think it's fantastic to give him exposure to. It's fantastic to give him exposure to a World Cup setting. These World Cups don't come every year, so to get to be in a group that brings you into the fray like this and allows you to experience it is something special. So shout out to the selectors.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. It's always something special to have to get that nod, that World Cup nod. It's the same. It's our version of getting the Olympics nod. The same way athletes feel like this year they get to go to the Olympics. That's
Yeah.
what World Cup feels like for cricket players.
Yeah. It really does, man. It's wow, I'm so happy for these boys, man. Like it's really elite players and youngsters
They've
that have put
earned
in
it.
the work, man. That have just put
They've
in the
earned it.
work.
It's
Jeez.
crazy because when you follow them and you know who deserves it, and then we're seeing these boys get picked up that do deserve it, and
Yeah.
it's like these boys actually deserve it. Even over the last couple of weeks, they've been racking up scores.
Yeah.
They've been consistent.
Yeah. I mean, you imagine knowing, right? You're going on Mapaga, you know you got picked up for SA under 19 squad. There's a weekend that you're not playing and you still play for your school, right? You're not like, I'm not trying to get injured, bro. You know,
Yeah.
I've got a tour of the West Indies in December, and then I've got the World Cup coming up in Jan and Feb. I'm not trying to get injured over a school game. I mean, you still come through and you put in the work, you put in the effort just to show you the kind of love and I think passion that the boys have for the game, regardless of where they play.
Yeah, that's definitely where it kind of sits for us. It's man to know what it takes because this boy's been playing essentially cricket every weekend,
Mm.
training during the week, and we forget that these are student athletes.
Yeah, yeah,
These are student athletes, which means we're not still expected to pass and
yes,
pass well.
yeah. Regardless,
Yeah. And
yeah.
this is a kid that still has a lot of time to still be in school though.
Mm,
I
mm,
think I think he's definitely gotta be a kid that as soon as he's done with school, he's gotta get that nod.
yeah, definitely, bro. He's one of the guys that we're gonna be watching. Um, he's one of the guys that we're all sitting here and feeling like um he as soon as he's done with school, he gets the nod. Um, he gets his green cap and we see him coming from one end, KG coming from the other. Um,
Yeah.
you know, it's really something that we can see some of these boys come through. Even the hardest Katia, man. I'd love to see him actually get into that Titan setup now, and be given an opportunity to rack up some runs and even see him in the Proteas as well. Something as a player as consistent as that, the Proteas could really use, bro.
Yeah. Especially now that we've got some holes in terms of consistency
Yeah,
in the Proteas side. And a kid like that, get him playing franchise as quick as possible so we can give him a year in franchise. If he does well, give him the nod, man.
yeah,
Right now is where we need to be reshuffling. I
yeah,
think anyone who's been playing for 5 years or more
yeah,
needs to be under review
yeah,
in that Proteas side. We've got a perfect opportunity to build up a new side under Markram. Remember what we did with Smith? And we
yeah,
brought in a 22-year
yeah,
old captain, a young side, and those boys then went on a 10-year run, basically, where the side is pretty much unchanged. And I think that's where we are right now. We need to take that second leap again and go, okay, cool. This is the game that we're playing now. We're
yeah,
building a whole new side.
yeah. It's. Uh, I think maybe from on the downside, I read a headline the other day, and I'm just trying to see if I can. There, Wayne Parnell back in the Proteas, right?
No.
And it felt like a step backward, man. It just felt like, what are we? Well, why are we doing this? Why are we bringing guys like Parnell back into the side?
Hana wasn't good when we brought him the first time.
Exactly, exactly. Exactly. He showed some signs of potential when he first came in, but we quickly realized that the boy can't play at that level. We dropped him, and now I guess because of the way he played in the CSA T20, the Cricket South Africa decided to bring it. I don't know why they're doing this, bro. It's time. This is a great opportunity for South Africa to harvest some fresh talent, right? Take the next two
Yeah.
years, get some fresh blood in, get some youngsters in. We've got a T20 World Cup coming up. Why are we picking up new guys? Why are we getting contracts signed and getting guys into the Proteas? Give the T20 World Cup an opportunity, see what youngsters come out of there, see who performs, get two or three youngsters coming out of there, bring them into the setup. You know what I mean? Like, this was an opportunity for us to to get that young blood into the Proteas, give Markram the nod to captain that young side, get rid of some of that old wood, and push on to try and make a surge for a World Cup, man. It was disappointing to read. I won't lie, bro.
Yeah. This is where they've missed the mark, man, because Australia did that. If you recognize that there is in order to cultivate a new crop of winning players, you got to take time to just admit that we're going to lose some series.
Yeah.
We're going to lose some games along the way. We're going to have some guys coming in and out of the side, revolving some guys. I mean, there's some guys that played for Australia that had 1 or 2 games and never got to play again.
Yeah. We know that.
You know what I mean? Because they understood we're trying to find our guy.
Yeah.
Some guys will stand the test of time and some guys won't make it. Some guys will do well up front, right?
Yeah.
So the problem with us is that we have, and again, I love Temba, right? Great dude, had some good games, played with him. But the reality is that in South Africa, one good performance buys you a 5-year run at least.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas in Australia, it's okay, he had a good run. Now we're testing consistency. So now we want to see 100 over the next 10 games. We want to see at least 2 or 3 more hundreds for us to say, okay, we found our guy for this position.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's guys in Australia that have hundreds in their name, but just never got called up again.
Yep.
There's guys in India, Ajinkya Rahane, as we always go back to, right? In any other team, Ajinkya is a world-class player.
Yeah.
In India, he's an alternate.
Yeah.
Because they feel Ajinkya is consistent, cool, but he's not consistent at a higher run rate.
Yeah.
Like, think about how much scrutiny it takes to go, okay, no, this guy can score us hundreds regularly, but he doesn't do it fast enough.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough conversation, that one.
And you as a Ajinkya need to step up your game because 100's not good enough.
Yeah. Apparently, so now I think he's I mean, he's been around for a really long time, and I think it's only now that he might be given the nod to captain the test side. Because that's what they did with him, right? So when Kohli wasn't around, Ajinkya would come in, and then at times he would captain the Indian side. But then they'd sort of swap him out, bring another youngster in, or bring someone else in, and he'd come back in again and score 100 or score an 80, and it just didn't seem to be good enough for the Indian selectors. But hopefully, it seems like now he might be getting the nod to captain that test side.
So yeah, I think it's because India has a very select amount of spots for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So what often happens is it's not just about being a good player, it's about being a number 4, being a number 3, being a number 2. And if there's a guy in that spot, even if you're good enough to score as many runs as that guy, that's that guy's spot.
Yeah.
So I think Ajinkya unfortunately falls under the same spot as Virat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so when Virat's available, they're like, no, we'll leave Ajinkya. Instead of just giving Ajinkya someone else's slot, it's like, no, that's Sehwag's slot or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Everybody has their slot and they choose the premium guy for that slot. And everybody else, even if they are premium players, if there's one guy who's better than you at that slot, that's his slot.
Yeah.
Because there's times where you'll find for instance, what's that tall Indian guy? He was known as quite a butcher. I think he's still playing though. Well-known guy.
The butchers are gone, dude. Now you've got what do you call it? You've still got that squad has now left me. But anyway, yeah, you were saying?
Yeah, and he's in my head. He's right there. He's a tall guy, big boy. But anyway, but yeah, you realize very quickly that there are certain select spots in India, and they could switch out somebody for a certain position. But if Rahane isn't built for that or seen as somebody in that position, They'll
Yeah.
replace somebody who's probably worse than Rahane,
Yeah. Yeah. Not
which is
Jadeja, no?
something I've. No, not Jadeja. He's a big boy. Bowls. He's an all rounder. Bowls spin as well.
Oh, not Sharma. No, Sharma's
No,
not a
no, not
pitcher
Sharm.
though. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
Sharm.
I'm
He's
with
got
you.
a. Yeah, when we get the name, it will be like
Yeah.
he's very charismatic guy, well known in India.
Yeah.
Um, had a stint out for, but I think he went for some surgery or something, and then made it back into the game again.
Ah, well, you know when the name is on is and I keep you know it keeps popping. Harvard John Singh keeps going into my head, but it's not him. It's
Yeah,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Anyway, keep
yeah,
going.
but you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, I realized that because India's got such a massive pool of players, they are very specific about positions. And that's how
Mm.
guys like Rahane get left out of the fold because it's like there's probably, if we're really being honest, we know the Indian setup and we know that there's probably a duplicate side out there. Like if
Yeah,
everybody in the Indian team died, they could replace all those boys with equally talented players because
yeah,
they've got such a massive talent pool. Like
yeah,
for guys like, I mean, for every Dhoni that did make it, how many of them didn't?
yeah, yeah. Tons, dude. Not Yuvraj Singh.
Yes, UV.
Yuvraj. Yes, yes.
So you look at UV. UV could get injured, leave, be replaced, but when UV's back, UV gets his spot.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
always the same spot. I think he was at 7 or I think he was at 6,
yeah,
right? But everybody knows that's UV's spot. And you would even hear it in the commentating where they call places someone's spot. Oh, that's
yeah,
Saywag's spot. When Saywag comes back, he takes his spot. And
yeah,
I think that's how the Indians sort of compartmentalize who deserves opportunities. Because if you really think about it, if you just left it open ended, there's too many possibilities for us not to streamline it and go, if in the domestic scene you are a number 3, we are
mm,
only going to look at you for the number 3 position in the Indian side.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's very rare you see guys moving up and down the batting lineup in India.
yeah, yeah. That's true. Often they do stick to their position, and if you pick you as an opener and you can't open, we're not just gonna move you around to number 4. We'll get rid of you and get another opener because what we
Yeah,
need is an opener.
exactly. You have to be a Verinder, so you have to get to a place where you're scoring an ungodly amount of runs, where we'll move some stuff around to get you in. Because if I remember correctly, Sehwag wasn't always the opener, was he? My memory might be a bit lost here, but
I've
there was
always
a
known him
time where it
as an
was
opener.
when Dravid was in.
Yeah.
It would
Oh, you
be
mean in the test side? Um,
yeah,
yeah, I think he opened in the ODI side, and then I think in the test he was maybe middle order because of his stroke play. But he was just so good opening. They were like, let's just open with him and let's see. And
yeah.
he
That
just
was the David. I call
wrecked
that
him.
the Dave Warner model.
Yeah,
There's something Australia did early. No, not the Dave Warner model. That is the Justin Langer Gilchrist model.
yeah,
Is that those two changed the mold of what an opening batting pair was,
yeah,
because you had the explosiveness of Hayden and you had the calmness of Justin Langer. And if you look at all throughout cricket today, that's the format for an opening pair now.
mm,
Quinny de Kock and a calmer guy. Um,
yeah, and
you
like
have
yeah,
exactly you have your David Warner and a calmer guy. So it was always cricket evolved to moving the one butcher up the order because the thinking was that if he comes off, he really comes off.
yeah.
So when
Within the
Aiden came
in the
off,
morning, you guys could have a score of 150, 180, just in the morning
exactly,
of day one.
exactly.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, so that's the what do you call it? That you make absolutely good points on that Indian side and how they work, man. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing that South Africa went that route. Um, but let's see how they go. We can only talk about it. Hopefully, someone with a bit of sense will hear and understand what we're saying, what we're trying to put out there. Um, and then there was an interesting one before we wrap. What's your take on South Africa co-hosting the 2027 50 over World Cup, man? South Africa's been awarded the co-host with Zimbabwe and Namibia.
Let's be honest, guys. We're carrying the lion's share. We're carrying this one. We let them stick their name on it. And you're like, nah, it's cool, bro. Good. This is my school project, but you can put your name on. This is our group project.
Yeah,
In every group project, there's the one that does all the work,
yeah, yeah.
but
I,
everyone gets the credit.
yeah,
Look,
it's
man, I
yeah,
think South Africa's gonna have to do a lot of work to get its fans back. I think that's a key thing to the success of the World Cup. We've hosted it before.
yeah,
There's one thing I think we've become good at is hosting cricket tournaments. I mean, IPL felt comfortably enough to host the IPL here when it
yeah,
first got going. So
yeah,
we have very good stadiums. We can do all that, but I think that the people have slowly fallen out of love with the game
yeah,
because it just hasn't. And I think it's a reflection of what's happening on the inside, right? There is no sense of unity.
yeah,
Even this World Cup, it didn't bring us together. We didn't really. The biggest thing that came out of it was the lack of communication between Cricket SA and the team, and the whole Quinton thing.
yeah,
Really, that's the biggest highlight of the World Cup for South Africa
yeah,
was the racial controversy,
yeah. Which is sad.
right? And it no one really thought they're gonna win it. No one really. There was no fanfare. We didn't even, as a country, make an effort to advertise it really. Like, it
Yeah,
wasn't something that was driven, and it just goes to show that cricket in SA isn't as revered and beloved as it was before, and we're missing something.
yeah,
There's something missing in that whole management feel, and that yeah, there's not one thing that I can pick on to
yeah,
say this is what's missing, but I think we're missing something up in the system, because the players are good. Players can play. We've got really world class players. I mean, we've
yeah,
got the number one fast bowler in the world. I think KG still at number one. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
not that we don't have the players to compete. It's not the players. It may just
Hmm.
be the old guard carrying the same energy. And I think that the modern day South African cricket fan has evolved.
Yeah, yeah.
Smith
I
and
agree
those
with you.
guys aren't cool to us anymore.
Yeah, I agree with
And
you.
the only reason why, and the only reason why in Australia those old school guys are cool is because they won.
Mm,
Like, it's a different feel when you meet a Ricky Ponting than when you meet a Graeme Smith, because Graeme Smith never won a World Cup. He
yeah,
just led a good team at a good time. It's a
yeah,
completely different thing.
yeah. No, you're right, dude. I think it is definitely that. I think we just need a new energy in South African cricket and the Proteas side. I think if people are gonna come out to support at that time, I think it's just maybe people are just gonna be out to just not be home anymore with this whole lockdown and thing. We don't even know we'd be in with the whole COVID conversation. So I think there's a lot that South Africa is going to need to do, and there's two sides to it, right? So there's a side that says, okay, South African economy needs a boost. The World Cup should, in theory, bring fans and tourism and give an opportunity for South Africa to highlight the tourist attractions again, and for people to rediscover South Africa. Right. The other side says we tried that before with the FIFA World Cup, and we spent more money than we made. So
Mm.
just from from a from a historical perspective, where that was part of the reasoning why we should have a World Cup come to South Africa. With the state of our economy, I just think it gets difficult to host a showpiece, an entertainment showpiece like that, when the rest of the country is reeling from losing jobs, businesses shutting down. You know what I mean? And I get it. It's in 2027. It's like 5 years from now. We don't know where we'll be then. South Africa, the country might be in a very different place. We don't know that. And a large part of why we don't know that is because our political landscape is so unstable, right? So chances are it'll be um, same story, different day kind of thing. We hope not, but I'm just not sure about the true value of us hosting a World Cup again. I don't know, but you know, there are those that are more experienced and know a little bit more than we do. So maybe if the guys could comment and let us know what their take is, and should South Africa host the 2027 Cricket World Cup with Namibia and Zimbabwe? Is it too soon? Is it going to help our tourist sector? Should we even bother with it, or should we just focus on internal, our own issues, and try build our economy up again before we host an entertainment showpiece?
Look, I think um, there is sort of a key difference between that FIFA World Cup and the SA World Cup, and that is South Africa's infrastructures are already ready to be able to take that on.
Mm,
And
okay.
a lot of with FIFA was we had to upskill and get ourselves to FIFA standard. And that's really where it really came to bite us because none of the
Mm,
stadiums were up to par and things like that. So I think from a cost side, the Cricket World Cup is more of a plus for tourism.
yeah.
Um, and I think that because the infrastructures are already set up, it's going to be far less costly. I think even if we were to bring a football World Cup again, also because of the amount, the scope of um, the FIFA World Cup as opposed to the Cricket World Cup. Um, Cricket World Cup, you're only really dealing with like 10 teams. Um, the support base, I think it'll be good for tourism. I
Yeah.
just don't think that it will work unless South Africans are going to support. It will be costly if South Africans don't show up.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
It
I
will
agree
be
with you, because technically you're
yeah, I
just sort
think
of getting ready for the Barmy Army, right?
exactly. So and that's where these other cricket nations really profit off cricket because cricket is big on its own there.
Yeah.
Their own people fill up the stadiums. And I don't think that right now South Africa has the fan base to fill up every single stadium outside of the opposing fans. Because when you see the World Cup in England, it was mostly British people that were going to the games.
Yeah.
So I don't think cricket brings in as much tourism as we'd like to think it does. But
Yeah.
I think what it does is that it revives the internal um, ecosystem by getting
The love
locals
for
to
the game
spend more
back again.
money.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if we can't get South Africans back passionate about it, it's going to be useless because it's going to be in a World Cup with half packed stadiums. The tourists
Yeah.
aren't going to fill the stadium. So
Yeah.
it's really going to come down to how do we build the team story from here on in. They really have to go back to these youngsters and showing their potential to win a World Cup because they've done it before.
Yeah.
That's the story that CSA should be running with. new players coming in. They should be heavily emphasizing on this World Cup coming up to say, these are the players to look for, so that by that 2027, what the groundsman is doing now is actually what is going to make that World Cup a success.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, bro. 100%. 100%. I think there's definitely an opportunity for South Africa as a country to step up and take up the mantle, especially within cricket in Africa, right? To really be the leader in um, in sort of getting young talent from a really young age, build that side up, and win a World Cup. At this rate, when I look at what Namibia did, we might just be overtaken by some of these smaller nations, man, if we're not careful. Especially because they use our franchise system and um, our setup to sort of get their players game ready. So yeah, man. Listen, I think we had a good show. I think we had some great news from Cricket South Africa around the under 19s, and then under 19 World Cup. I think there is some great potential for us to win that one. We'll be watching those boys quite closely. I think Cricket South Africa, you've taken a step back by bringing back some older players like Wayne Parnell and them. You've missed an opportunity to look at some of the youngsters that are available. The Cricket World Cup, under 19 World Cup is coming up in Feb. I think you should have taken a step and waited a little bit, taken a breath to see what players come out of there, and then absorb them into the system and give them an opportunity to prove themselves. And Australia, congratulations for winning the T20 World Cup. That's the first for you guys. You've won plenty of championships, but I think you guys fought back with your back against the wall when no one thought you could do it. New Zealand, I really hope you get an opportunity to disprove a lot of your critics, get that monkey off your back. South Africa knows exactly what that feels like, and I'm not sure if you guys have it, man. The Guptils and those guys only have so many more years to go, and I'm not sure if they'll be around come the next World Cup. So I think we've had a fantastic show. T, any last words?
No, I'm good, man. I think it's been an interesting one. I think we got some good conversations going around what it takes to actually win one of these things. And I think for guys that are listening out there that are maybe decision makers, perhaps it's, the groundsmen have made some decent suggestions on how to cultivate that next side, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate your time coming onto the podcast, and taking time to listen on what's going around in the cricket landscape locally with the youngsters. Who are we looking at? What the boys are doing? How they're doing them? Again, from the Groundsmen, this is episode 12. Thank you so much for sticking with us. From the Groundsmen, see you next week. All right, everybody, welcome to the Groundsmen. Still is, man. That top order just demolished me. So normally what that structure looks like is that and honestly, that's part of why the groundsmen are here as well, so that you don't have to wait for Coke Week in order to see who's who and what's what.